about hernias is that the larger the hole, meaning the bigger the hernia, the less likelihood that an incarceration or strangulation of the bowel would actually happen. So it's the smaller ones that don't look as bad that actually tend to be more problematic. When I've got a cold and I'm blowing my nose a lot, my snot changes color. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's yellow. What's the difference? It's about the cells that are present inside your snot. A lot of people make the assumption that if their snot is a certain color, they know whether or not it's a bacterial or viral infection. That's not always true because, for example, many people say if your snot is green, that means you have a bacterial infection. That is true in some cases, but at the same time, sometimes your snot can start being clear and then towards the end of your viral illness, change color to something that's yellow or green and still be viral and not be bacterial. So I don't use that as the sole judge of what's going on. It needs to be thought about in a whole spectrum of whether you're having bacterial-like symptoms, like fever, sinus tenderness, and then the color of the snot can be one of those variables, but I wouldn't use it as the sole discriminatory point for making a diagnosis. Why does Vicks VapoRub make, I love that you said VapoRub.
VapoRub? I only got a B in geography. VapoRub? My girlfriend just dumped me. VapoRub.
By the way, the podcast with Stephen He is a banger, and if you haven't signed up and subscribed to the Checkup Podcast, you're missing out. Check it out because everyone's loving it. Why does Vicks VapoRub make my cough go away faster than cough medicine? What is that stuff? I'm pretty sure Vicks VapoRub is just menthol. Menthol is interesting because what it can do is create a cooling sensation, which feels good. Maybe create some opening and dilation of the airway on a superficial level. But in reality, cough medicine doesn't really work. I really don't use cough medicine in the huge majority of my patients unless I'm treating the source of the cough, like acid reflux, postnasal drip, asthma, where I can give them an inhaler to bronchodilate the spasm away. I like using a steam inhaler for when I have a cough. It really feels like it opens things up. Why is it so much harder to fall asleep as an adult than it is a kid? We have a higher sleep need as children, meaning we sleep for longer hours. And as we get older, the need for deep sleep decreases. The amount of sleep a 1-year-old needs versus a 101-year-old needs is drastically different. And something to also think about, that the number of REM hours of sleep is difficult to maintain the older we get. And I'm sure anxiety has a component there too, but that's not one that's routinely taught to us. Connie Tai, how do I unclog my nostrils before bed? It always feels like one of them is totally stuffed. If I have a patient whose nose is stuffy quite often, I would try my best to narrow down to the most common diagnosis and try some medications like nasal sprays. I like using nasal saline to clear out the nasal passageways because it's a benign thing to do, doesn't have real big side effects. And then there's other things that we can do like histamine nasal sprays, steroidal nasal sprays. And if those don't work, I really like to get an ear, nose, and throat specialist on board to do a fiber optic exam where they put a little camera in to check the anatomy. There's different parts of the nasal passageways that can be operated on where I've seen patients get good results and then some patients that have overdone it. So make sure that when you do meet with an ENT, talk about the risks and benefits for your specific condition. Also, another cool tip here is throw a humidifier in your room. Sometimes just moistening the mucous membranes helps a lot. And also staying well hydrated thins out mucus, makes it easier to breathe as well. They say humans use only 10% of their brains. The smarter people use more of their brains. I think this is a complete myth. Like, I don't even have evidence to say it, but I think I've looked this up in the past and I think it's a complete myth. Is there a health benefit to wearing those barefoot shoes with the toes? In some instances there might be, but there are also significant risks. We've seen people develop stress fractures because they have very thin padding, but then some people develop stronger shins. They have pros and cons. Weigh them for your own individual decision. I've never really seen an instance where I'm like, yeah, that was the way to go. I think if you're interested in barefoot training, doing it on sand is probably the way to go. But doing it on hard concrete is just gonna create so much shock that will go into your knees and hips that long term, I don't find it really beneficial. Is marching band a sport? Does it raise your blood pressure, your pulse? Does it make you sweat? Is it competitive? If you answered yes to those questions, definitely a sport. I want more questions, leave them down below. And by the way, never drink hot stuff at this specific temperature that I say in this video. Really important to check it out. Like, can prevent cancer by watching this video. And as always, stay happy and healthy.